At the beginning of the year, I set a few financial goals. One of them was to save at least 3 times the value of 1 month's worth of living expenses, which for me personally is at about $10,500. And honestly, guys, for the first few months, I was doing so well. It was great. It was crazy. I was saving money and not pulling any money out. I even thought I was going to hit this goal maybe a few weeks up to a month sooner. But then eventually things started to happen like life does, and I had to pull some money out. So at this point, I've taken a few more steps back than I would like to, as opposed to the few steps forward towards my goal. And yeah, it sucks. But before we get to where I am now, let me tell you how I was planning on achieving this goal. So I decided that I wanted to save $400 every single month into my regular savings account that actually has an interest of 0.25%, which is fairly decent. And based off the balance of the savings account at that time, I was anticipating that I would save roughly $10,500 by the end of the year, give or take a month or a couple of weeks. Now, a month or so into it, or 2 or 3 months ago, I actually opened up my first high yield savings account ever, which I had a feeling would help me get to this point a lot sooner and be really beneficial in the long term. And by the way, qualifying for a high yield savings is not as hard as I thought. Now, I'm not in a terrible position, but I think there's a stigma that people believe that qualifying for a high yield savings account is very difficult and it's hard to get one, but there are a lot of online banks that offer high yield savings account with high interest rates, but you should definitely look into it if you haven't yet. But anyway, at the time of opening that high yield savings, it actually had an interest rate of about 3.93%, which is a lot crazier than 0.25%. And right now it's actually at 4.5%. Just to paint a picture of how this has been so far in relation to my regular savings, in my regular savings account at the end of a statement cycle, I had about $6,300. And at the end of one statement, I received a little over $1.30 in interest. Now that same period of time in my high yield savings account, I had about $1,200 at the end of that statement, and I received almost $4 in interest. So imagine if that was even more money in more period of time. It's insane. So I knew it was going to help achieve the goal I had of saving 3 times worth my monthly living expenses by the end of the year. And because of that, I decided to put $200 into my high yield savings and $200 into my regular savings. I would have done all in my high yield savings, but I still have recurring bills that come out of that regular savings account. So I wanted to keep contributing to that. And again, that was going really well, and until it didn't, it happens. A few things that ended up happening between the moment where everything kind of turned around a little bit and up until now is I had to make certain purchases. I'll be honest, one of the purchases I had to make was to buy a new bedroom set. I'm sure we've all been there. It's not a major necessity, but if you have a bedroom set that's over a decade, maybe a decade and a half old, and things start to break down, then you're probably gonna want to buy a new bedroom set. And it was really cool buying a new king size bed for me and my wife, so I don't regret purchasing it, but it was a major purchase and it involved me taking money out of my savings account. So at the same time, it kind of sucked considering I had a goal in mind. But to be honest, prior to that happening, I was having this mental debate on how I wanted to attack becoming more financially stable than I am now. I believe there are 2 different ways you can approach it, no matter who you are. You can either save more money or you can pay off your debt, but ultimately you want to do both. And at the beginning, I had the mindset to save more money, but after looking at my budgets and looking at how much money I'm putting towards my credit cards, I knew paying off that debt was going to be way more significant for me in the long term than saving money for the time being. As a matter of fact, the amount of money that I was spending just on the interest on each credit card combined was almost the same amount as the amount of money I was putting in my savings account every single month. So I knew it was important to put more of my time and more of my money onto those credit cards, because not only will it help me increase certain statistics that would benefit me in the long term, like my debt to income ratio, but the sooner I can pay off all of those credit cards, then that's more interest that I can avoid. Then the sooner I can take that money and instead put it towards other things like my savings account, or even put it towards my dividend portfolio that I talk about all the time, maybe hopefully get to $25 a month. But you know, we'll see. So with that being said, I decided to focus more on my credit card debt, but I'm still saving money. Right now, I am saving $50 a week just in my high yield savings account so I can reap the benefits of the interest. And honestly, it kind of sucks right now, but I know it's going to be a lot better in the long term. And I know deep down that I'm making the right decision. And I'll eventually be able to put more into that high yield savings account, whether it's back to the $400 a month that I once was, or even more. Plus, I am blessed enough to have a partner where we can tackle things together, including our finances. So I don't necessarily have to be concerned with having X amount of months of living expenses on my own. That's something we'll tackle together. But her and I have both had a moment in time where we've each had at least 3 months worth of our current living expenses. So I would love if her and I could eventually get there, or at least focus on myself. One day I would still want to get there and then some. And speaking of my future, I actually just put another $50 into my Roth IRA like earlier today. I have another goal to where I wanted to contribute $50 a month into my Roth IRA. And honestly guys, I'm so proud of how this portfolio is looking. If you haven't yet, make sure you check out this video. This is definitely for you guys out there that thought about setting up a Roth IRA, but you're not really sure how it could benefit you, especially if you can't really afford to invest much, because some people may say that $50 is not a lot, especially on a monthly basis, but it can definitely make a big difference in the long term. Guys, I really do appreciate you guys watching this video. You have no idea. And until next time, as always, take care.